What if anxiety wasn't in your head at all, but in the world around you? Not metaphorically, in a very literal way. Imagine that the things in your room right now, the metal in the walls, the wiring in your devices, the tiny radioactive bits humming in distant reactors, all had moods, not thoughts, just a kind of tension or tiredness that builds up right before something goes wrong. And imagine you were the only person who could feel it. You're trying to fall asleep, and suddenly you're aware that a pipe across town feels nervous, or a power line 3 blocks away feels too tight. You're not seeing visions. You're not hearing voices. You're not hearing voices. You're reading the stress in the air. That's what's fascinating about this story. It's not about magic, and it's not about classic psychic powers. It's about probability, as a sense, about a child whose brain, half human and half alien, treats risk the way your skin treats heat, instant, unavoidable, and sometimes painful. And it really makes you wonder, if one person could feel the world's failures coming, how long before everyone around them tries to turn that feeling into a tool? So as you settle in and let the day slide to the edges a little, picture a quiet coast in Monterey, late at night, where a small girl lies awake. She isn't listening to waves or cars or voices in the hallway. She's listening to atoms, and the first thing she hears is that some of them are already tired. Late at night, when the coast was quiet and the sky over Monterey glowed soft and pale, a small girl lay awake and listened to things no one else could hear. Not to the ocean, not to cars, not to people. She listened to atoms. She did not see the future. She did not see clear pictures of what would happen tomorrow. Instead, she felt moods, a soft worry from a steel beam, a sharp panic from a wire under strain, a sad, tired feeling from old pipes in the walls. The world called it a gift. To Liora, at first, it felt like noise. It pressed against her thoughts, crowded her sleep, and turned quiet rooms into loud places. The more machines the world built, the more she heard. By the time she turned 12, nations wanted her help. Scientists wanted to test her. Aliens wanted to guide her. Her mother wanted to protect her. Liora wanted something very small and very rare. She just wanted the atoms to feel calm. The first time Liora spoke about tired atoms, she was 6 years old and sitting cross-legged on the floor of her bedroom in Monterey. Evening light slid in across the carpet. The small apartment smelled like salt air and warm rice. Outside, quiet electric buses moved past, almost silent. She had lined up her toy cars and small metal figures in a neat row. Most kids might have cared about colors or shapes. Liora cared about which ones felt safe to touch her. The blue car felt fine. The green one felt heavy, like a deep sigh. The little metal robot felt sharp and nervous, as if its joints wanted to snap. She picked it up, frowned, then set it aside. Her mother, Naomi Reyes, watched from the doorway. Naomi wore the loose, soft clothes she liked after long days at the research center. Her dark hair was tied back, and shadows circled her tired eyes. "Not that one?" Naomi asked. Liora shook her head. "It hurts," she said. "It is afraid it will break." Metal can't be afraid, Naomi said gently, coming into the room. She sat on the floor across from her daughter. It does not think like people. I know, Liora said. She squeezed her small hands together. But it feels like that to me. Naomi did not smile or laugh it off. She never did that, even when Liora sounded strange. Instead, she tilted her head and listened closer, like a scientist taking notes in her mind. Where do you feel it? Naomi asked. In your hand? In your ears? Liora looked down at the robot. Inside my head, like when a song is too loud. But it is not sound. It is, she searched for words. It is like the air before a storm. Tight. Naomi took a slow breath. Okay, she said, then set it down. Stay with the quiet ones. Back then, they both thought it was just a strange part of being half human and half something else. The worst storms of the climate crisis had passed. Sea walls and floating parks curved along the coast. Power came from deep, steady reactors and wide solar fields. The city moved on soft electric tires and silent maglev lines under the streets. Most people lived with a sense of steady safety. Inside Liora's head, nothing felt steady. Metal railings stung when she brushed them. Elevators felt like crowded rooms full of crowded thoughts. Even the smooth, clean power lines humming above the streets felt like a dull headache. Always there, her alien parents' people had names too long and strange for most human mouths. The public used a simple term. The Varai. They were tall, soft-voiced beings with pale, translucent skin that caught the light in slow colors. Their eyes were wide and clear, and their thoughts moved easily through fields that humans could not sense. To a Varai adult, probability was like sunlight. They noticed it on their skin. They could tell when chances bent toward danger or safety, the way a sailor could tell when wind shifted. Their brains had filters built in by long evolution. Billions of years ago, simple life on their world had reacted to chance the way plants react to light. Over ages, those faint reactions had become a sense. That sense had become a controlled skill. Vari children went through long training to handle it without pain. When Naomi first worked with the Varai, she had fallen in love with their calm. She had studied advanced nuclear design and quantum devices, then joined an early team at the Human Varai Research Hub in orbit. She met a Varai scientist named Tholin Var in a quiet lab. They had not shared bodies in any human way, but they had shared genes, cell designs, and long, focused talks about what a hybrid mind could be. Liora was the result of that long project, a body grown from Naumis cells and Varai genetic designs. A human child with a layered brain. One layer spoke human languages and loved human food and liked to watch waves. Another layer, deep and strange, felt probability itself, but that deep layer came without full Varai filters. That was the problem. To Varai adults, a failing machine felt like a soft warning. To Liora, the same machine felt like someone screaming in her ear. The first public event came in 3rd grade. Her school was a low, bright building near the bay. It ran on clean, steady power from a local plant. Smart walls shifted color with daylight. The halls were lined with plants that grew in long glass tubes, fed by gentle grow lights. She liked her teacher, Miss Anya, who spoke in slow, careful phrases and did not rush children who needed time. On that day, near the end of winter, the class sat in a warm room working on a group project about ocean life. The heat had been up a little higher than normal all week. No one complained. The outside air was cold and sharp, and kids liked the warm rooms. Liora sat near the back, coloring a kelp forest on her tablet. At first, everything felt normal. The plastic chair was soft. The thin metallic frame of the desk was quiet in her mind. The tablet felt a bit buzzy, but not too loud. Then something under the floor shifted. It was not sound. The fan stayed the same. The soft hum of the building did not change. But deep under her shoes, in the dark space where the heating pipes ran, the atoms felt different. A strain ran through them, tight and hot. Part of the metal felt thin, like rubber about to snap. Hot water shivered in narrow paths inside those pipes, and the whole system leaned toward failure. Her head snapped up. Anya looked over. Liora? Everything okay? Liora swallowed. Her throat felt dry. The pipes are scared, she said. A few kids snickered. A boy in the front row made a face. Ms. Anya raised a hand to quiet them. She stood and walked toward Liora. What do you mean? She asked softly. Liora clenched her fists. Her chair felt too hard now. They feel very tight, she said, like if they breathe, they will break. They are tired. Too hot. Ms. Anya studied her face. She had seen Liora react strangely to devices before, shifting away from certain machines, pressing hands over ears near some lab tools. The staff knew Liora's family background, even if they did not fully understand it. Stay here, Miss Square, Miss Percy, Anya said at last. I will call maintenance. It may just be the thermostat. She stepped out into the hallway and pressed her wrist chip to open a call. A few words passed between her and the building systems manager. 5 minutes later, as kids kept working, a deep crack popped under the far corner of the room. A sharp hiss rose from the floor, followed by a burst of steam that pushed through a vent cover. Children yelped and pushed back their chairs. One girl near the vent fell to the floor. Steam burst into the room, hot and blinding for a moment, then thinned as the auto shut-off sent valves slamming shut. No one was badly hurt. The girl had a red mark on her arm, but med foam cooled it fast. The sensor network had reacted within seconds. Safeties had worked. Still, when the building engineers came to look, they found a pipe section so worn that it made them frown. It should not have thinned like that, they said. It was out of line with their models. The principal called Naomi that afternoon. Naomi sat in the small office, shoulders tense, hands folded on her lap. Liora stood by the window, watching quiet cars pass on the street. Outside, breathing slowly. So she mentioned the pipes before it happened. Naomi asked. Yes, Ms. Anya said. Her voice stayed calm. About 5 minutes before, she said they felt tight. Tired. The building engineer, A man in his 50s with kind eyes cleared his throat. "We have sensors," he said. "They monitor heat, pressure, small leaks. None of them flagged anything before the rupture. That is what worries me." Naomi glanced at Liora. "This is not the first time," she said softly. "In the months before, there had been small things. A lab experiment at home where a sample cup cracked just after Liora pulled her hand away. With a frown, a home air filter that failed hours after she refused to sit near it. An elevator at the research center that she refused to enter, only for it to stall later that day. Parents talk. Teachers compare notes. Researchers stay curious. Within weeks, a quiet group of scientists from the local Human Vari Liaison Office asked to speak with Naomi. They gathered in a glass meeting room that looked out over the bay. Sunlight bounced off the water, soft and steady. Envoy Thalen Var joined by live link from orbit, his light, clear face projected above the table. His color bands shifted slow and calm along his skin, meaning he was relaxed but focused. "We welcome the chance to talk," Talon said, in his smooth, careful standard. "We always meant to stay close to Liora's development." Naomi folded her arms. "You mean you meant to study her," she said. Palin held her gaze. "And protect her," he said gently. Both. Beside him sat Dr. Marcus Hale, a human cognitive scientist with silver at his temples and a warm, patient face. He had been one of the first to study Vari senses. He leaned forward slightly. "We have seen the reports," Marcus said, "but we need to ask some things directly, with your consent and with Liora's." Naomi looked at her daughter. "Do you feel okay talking?" Liora sat in a chair with her feet tucked up, hugging her knees. The room felt strangely loud, even though it was quiet. The metal frames in the walls, the power cables under the floor, the lift systems in the building, all made a distant buzz in her mind. "I can talk," she said softly. Dalen's pale eyes fixed gently on her. "Liora," he said, "can you tell us what you felt under the school floor?" She took a breath. First it was soft, like regular pipes. Then it turned sharp. The atoms felt like they were all holding hands too hard, pushing too much. They were tired and hot, and did not want to stay that way. "Did you see pictures?" Marcus asked. "Like, did you see an image of the pipe breaking?" "No," Liora said, "just pressure. Like if I look at a glass on the edge of a table, and even if no one touches it, it feels like it wants to fall. But this was inside." She tapped her temple. Naomi watched every small change in her daughter's face. Pride mixed with fear behind her eyes. "She does not see the future," Naomi said firmly. "Please put that idea away. It is too heavy for a child." Marcus nodded. "We do not think it is simple fortune-telling," he said. "The Vari sense does not work like that." Talon's color band shifted, a sign he was choosing words with care. "Our species does not see fixed futures," he said. "We sense probability fields. You might think of them as patterns of chance. Many paths that a system can take. Our minds feel when those paths lean toward certain kinds of outcomes. like many roads where more and more of them lead to the same city. Marcus added, when that happens, Varai, minds feel pressure in that direction. Naomi frowned a little, but Liora is not Varai, she said. She is not fully Varai. Talon agreed. Her human brain gives her your way of seeing and feeling, but she also has Varai sensory layers. In our children, those layers get trained and filtered. For Liora, the filters are not complete, so she does not simply notice balanced fields. She feels strong imbalances as pain or moods coming from matter itself. Liora stayed quiet, listening. The words felt big, but parts slid into place. So the pipes did not talk to me, she said slowly. But the way they were likely to break felt like fear. Thalin's colors flared with soft approval. Yes, he said, that is close. And this is her life now? Naomi asked. Her voice held a small tremor. Rooms full of panicking pipes and sad metal and tired atoms. She is a child. We can help, Phelan said. We have training methods, ways to build inner filters, to turn that raw pressure into something gentler and clearer. But it will take time and care. Naomi's fingers curled on the table. And in the meantime, the world wants to use her, she said. Call her in when something might fail. Treat her like a safety alarm. Marcus looked down for a moment. Some will, he admitted. We cannot pretend otherwise. A child who can feel when systems lean toward failure. Happily, nuclear plants, orbital stations, quantum labs, all of them will want that. Now Miss Jaw tightened. She is not a tool, she said. Liora watched her mother and felt a warm ache in her chest. The building's metal bones still hummed in her mind, but softer now. Her mother's anger was a clearer feeling than any machine. I do not want to be famous, Liora said. I just want the noise to be quiet. I want the atoms to feel calm. Thalen nodded. That is our goal as well, he said. Not to push you into pain, but to help you stand in this new sense without drowning in it. Naomi studied him for a long second. Then we will do this my way, she said. No secrets, no tests, without her consent, no locked rooms. She learned to live with this before anyone asks her to help with their reactors or satellites. Marcus gave a small smile. That is the only way I will work on this, he said, gently, slowly, listening. The meeting ended with careful promises and secure messages. Yet outside those glass walls, word had already begun to spread, in small, quiet lines through research networks and government channels. A child in Monterey, gifted by human and Varai genes, could feel when atoms leaned toward failure. Some people heard that and thought of protection. Others heard it and thought of power. Liora only felt the weight of buildings breathe around her, and hoped they would stay calm. By the time Liora turned 10, her name had crossed desks in cities she had never seen. In fusion labs under the desert, people said it in low voices. In control rooms of old fission reactors that had been updated and reinforced for a safer age, supervisors read short, careful reports. about the Monterey girl. On quiet orbital stations that watched climate systems and asteroid paths, staff looked up from their screens and wondered what it would feel like to sense probability the way Virai did. They lived in a world that leaned on complex systems, nuclear reactors sunk into bedrock, humming with steady power, orbital satellites that kept watch over weather, crops, storms, and ocean health, quantum devices that sat in secure labs, holding fragile states in strange balance. Most of the time, sensors and models kept these machines safe. But small gaps remained, unmuddled failure modes. The engineers called them ways things could go wrong, that they had not yet thought about. A child who could feel when atoms were tired sounded like an answer. The first test they tried came dressed as a school field trip. Naomi saw through it at once. The bus that picked up Liora's class was slightly nicer than usual. The route went past the usual aquarium and coastal parks, but did not stop. Instead, it turned inland, moving through quiet streets toward the hills, where a small, secure facility sat behind soft barriers and a line of trees. Ms. Anya stood at the front of the bus, holding the center rail. "We have a special tour today," she said. "We will visit a safety lab. You will see how grown-ups keep power plants and air systems safe for everyone." Kids cheered. Safety lab sounded interesting, even if they did not know what that meant. 5, near the middle, hands pressed over her ears. The bus frame felt busy, like a crowd muttering too fast. The traffic grid under the road hummed with tiny shifts in magnetic fields as it guided cars. The more metal around her, the louder the pressure grew. Naomi sat beside her, gripping the seat. She had insisted on joining the trip. Hints in a school newsletter and a casual invite from the local energy office director had smelled wrong to her. The bus passed through a gate that opened with a soft click. They rolled into a quiet campus of low buildings, white against the dry brown hills. A few small reactors sat far away, sunk deep, wrapped in layers of shielding and earth. As they stepped off, Liora felt a new kind of pressure under her feet. It was not pain exactly, more like a tight hum, the kind that comes when many delicate things are held together on purpose. A man and a woman waited for them by the entrance. A man and a woman waited for them by the entrance. The man wore a light jacket and had a friendly, open face. The woman's dark hair was pulled into a neat knot, and her eyes were sharp. "Welcome," the man said. "I am Dr. Patel. This is Director Sova Lin." The kids gave polite greetings. They were guided to bright halls where plastic and glass covered most surfaces. The air smelled clean and cool. Naomi walked close to Liora. She watched Sova Lin, who kept glancing at them with hidden interest. In one wide room, models of reactors sat under clear domes. Screens showed colored maps of heat and flow. A guide explained how modern nuclear plants were safer than old ones, with many layers of control and backup systems. Most kids stared at the models. Liora stared at the floor. Under the concrete many meters down, metal lattices held burning atoms. In controlled patterns, those atoms broke and changed, letting go of energy piece by piece. By piece, thou silstoms, coolant flowed around them, carrying heat away. Sensors watched constantly. Most of that deep machine felt calm to her. It had been built well. The probability field around it felt smooth, like a lake with only small waves, but at the far edge of the room, past a thick interior wall, something else tugged at her mind. A test rig. She could not see it. She did not know its shape, but its atoms felt stressed and busy in an odd way. Different possible paths met there, almost equal. Failure and success sat side by side, and the air around that place felt prickly in her head. She took a step back. Naomi saw her flinch. "Too loud?" she asked quietly. "There," Liora murmured, pointing at the far wall. "That part feels itchy, like it is being pushed." Sovalin's gaze flicked over. "Would you like to see our test chamber?" she asked the group in a bright voice. "We can watch a safe simulation of a leak and show you how our systems respond." Naomi's jaw tightened. That line had not been in the official trip plan. "I would like to see the risk assessment first," Naomi said calmly. "As her guardian and as a nuclear engineer." For a second, something hard flashed in Sovalin's eyes. Then a smooth smile slid back in place. "Of course," she said. "Perhaps your daughter can wait in the lounge while we—" "No, Naomi said. If the test cannot be done safely with my child in the room, it should not be done at all, for anyone." Silence fell in the group. Children shifted. Miss Anya looked faintly alarmed. "Dr. Bhatt." Patel stepped forward, hands open. "The simulation is purely virtual," he said. "The rig is at low power, well within margins. We had hoped, well," he cleared his throat. "We had hoped Liora might find it interesting from a sensory point of view." "You mean you wanted to see if she would flinch before your models show a change," Naomi said. A quiet voice spoke from a ceiling speaker. "I must agree with Dr. Said. Reyes," it said. Thalen's smooth tones carried a steady calm. The Virai delegation was not informed of this plan. Hybrid care protocols apply. Sovalin's smile faded, just slightly. "Envoy Var," she said, "I was not aware you were joining us. I monitor all visits involving Liora," Thalen said, "by prior agreement. I am currently in orbit, but my attention is quite present." The room held a soft, tense pause. Sovalin looked at the children, then at Naomi, then up toward the hidden speaker. "Very well," she said. "We will keep to the approved tour plan." The group moved on. No leak simulation took place that day. Still, the story of what almost happened reached further than the small group in that room. Within weeks, questions landed in legal offices and diplomatic channels. Did human governments have the right to test a hybrid child for national safety projects? Did the Var, who had helped create her, have any say in how she was raised? who, exactly, owned the talents of a person who could change the risk profiles of reactors and satellites just by listening. Public debates ran slowly and carefully, without street anger or loud fights. People had grown tired of casting every problem as a battle. Still, the work in back rooms and court channels was intense. The Varai delegation, led by Thalen and guided by Director of Cultural Affairs Sova Lin, who now had to play a more cautious role, filed a document with the World Ethics Council. Varai law, they said, saw hybrids not as property but as shared cultural children. Any use of their special senses for state projects required both informed consent and protective oversight by Varai mentors. Several human nations pushed back. They did not say they wanted to own Liora. They said they wanted fair access. If her sense could prevent disasters, they argued, then blocking that help might itself be unethical. Naomi sat in hearings, speaking in a clear, steady voice. "You are already treating her as a tool," she said. "Listen to your own words. Access. Use. You talk about her like she is a sensor array, not a person." Reporters spoke her words in quiet broadcasts later that night. Families discussed them over calm dinners. Through it all, Liora grew more and more withdrawn from machines. At home, she turned off almost every device she could. The fridge hummed softly, but it was an old model, and its atoms felt lazy, not tense. She refused to ride the faster maglev lines, choosing quieter surface trams instead, even if trips took longer. In public spaces, she covered her ears with her hands when she had to pass near certain heavy structures. She no longer liked walking under the big transmission towers that carried high-capacity lines from the inland reactors. Their steel bones felt like stretched muscles, loaded close to their limits. Naomi saw the change and worried. Late at night, when Liora could not sleep, she would sit at the small window and stare out at the bay. The water's atoms felt soft and random, doing what water always did. Currents shifted, waves rose and fell at the shore. It was busy, but it was a kind of business that did not hurt her. "Do you ever wish you did not build me this way?" Liora asked once, voice barely above a breath. Naomi sat beside her, their shoulders touching. "I did not build you," she said softly. "I helped bring you here. That is different. But you helped decide," Liora said. "You and Talon. You chose the genes. You decided to let this sense in." Naomi closed her eyes for a moment. She had asked herself the same question many times. "I wanted a mind that could stand between worlds," she said. "I thought your life would be full of new kinds of beauty. I still think that can be true. I did not understand how loud it would be for you first." Liora rested her forehead against the glass. "Stars are not loud. Most rocks are not loud. It is people's machines. Heaven, they're sharp, tight things. They're pieces that are about to break. Then we will teach you how to be around them without pain," Naomi said, "but not by letting governments poke at you like a probe." The change in approach came when Dr. Marcus Hale asked for time with them in a very different setting. No labs, no test rigs, no pressure, just a room above a small cafe near the waterfront with old wooden beams and big windows. The only strong machine in the building was a slow, gentle coffee roaster on the floor below, and it felt calm in Liora's mind. Marcus set his tablet on the table, but kept it dark. "There are many people who want to ask you hard questions," he said. "We are not here for that. I just want to understand how things feel to you. Not to use you, to listen." Naomi sat nearby with a cup of tea. Talon joined by live link again, his face softer this time, as if the less formal space let him relax. "Can you tell me about a day when things felt easier?" Marcus asked. Liora thought for a moment. "Yesterday at the tide pools," she said, "the rocks and shells and small crabs. They did not feel like anything, or they did, but it was plain. No big pushes, no tight places." Marcus nodded. "And a hard day?" "The day at the safety lab," she said. Her shoulders moved up. "The test rig I could not see. It felt like many paths crashing together, like if you had lots of ways to fall and stand at the same time." "Do you think you saw what would happen?" Marcus asked. "No," Liora said quickly. "It is not future pictures. It is like your word, Talon." Talon's colors flickered gently. "Yes," he said. "Let us try a small idea. Liara, imagine a coin on a table before anyone flips it. How does it feel?" She closed her eyes. "Calm," she said. "It could go either way. Nothing pulls. Now imagine someone is about to flip it, and a fan blows to one side, making heads more likely. How does that feel?" She tilted her head. "A little bent," she said, "like air pressing more on one side of my face. That bent feeling is how our minds sense probability fields," Talon said. "Many tiny pieces, many chances for tiny cracks to form or not form. When the chances for cracks stay low, the field feels calm. When they rise, when more and more paths include cracks, our minds feel that as pressure." Marcus leaned in slightly. "So when you say atoms are tired," he said, "you mean that more and more of their paths lead to them changing, breaking, or failing soon?" "Yes," Liora said. Relief flickered in her face. "That is it. They are not sad like people, but they feel like they want to stop holding together in the same way." Marcus let out a slow breath. "You are not telling us fixed events," he said. "You are telling us about shifts in probabilities, which means you are not a fortune teller. You are a sensor and an interpreter of risk. That is a very different thing." Naomi relaxed just a little. "Can this understanding help her?" she asked. "Make the noise softer." "I think so," Marcus said. "If we can give her language for what she feels and help her focus on useful patterns instead of every little buzz, her brain might learn to tune things." Thalen nodded. "Varied children go through training that teaches them to let most small fluctuations pass," he said, "to notice only large, important bends in the field. Liora never had that. We will have to invent a version that fits her mixed brain." They kept meeting in that quiet room. No tests of dangerous systems. No secret simulations hidden in school trips. Just patient talks, drawings, and games. Marcus would lay out simple metal objects on the table. A spoon, a thin wire, a sturdy bolt. Which one feels the most tired? He asked. Liora would close her eyes, touch each lightly, and describe not only the feeling, but the shape of the pressure. This one feels like a line, she might say, tracing with her finger, like it wants to snap in the middle. Or this one feels safe, like lots of different paths stay together. They brought in safe lab samples, mild radioactive isotopes used in medicine, sealed in thick containers. Liora never touched them, but she sat across the room and tried to put words to the distant tug she felt. Is it loud? Marcus asked. Not loud, she said, but it is like a steady drip. They are changing no matter what. They are not stable, but it is not in danger, just always falling apart slowly. Nuclear decay, Marcus said softly. She can feel decay rates as moods. As the months passed, patterns emerged. Liora did not just react to random machines. She reacted most strongly when a system entered a narrow, unstable band of possibilities, where many small paths started to cluster toward failure. A quiet lab fan changing speed did nothing to her. A slightly damaged support beam in a public hall made her skin crawl. News of these sessions reached government offices. Some officials were relieved. Others grew impatient. We cannot sit forever in debates while this child sense remains unstructured. One report said, every unmodeled failure she might catch, and we miss is a risk to lives. The Virai delegation pushed back. Every rush test that overloads her sense is harm to a child, they answered. Ethics must weigh both. At a joint ethics panel, a legal expert from the African Union asked a key question. What if, she said, Liora is not a safety device at all, but the first student of a new science? Should we treat her like a censor, or like a teacher in training? In the small cafe room, Marcus put it more simply. You are not here to save our machines, he said to Liora quietly. You are here to tell us what it feels like to be you. If that later helps us save machines, that will be because you choose to help. Liora hugged her knees and looked out at the bay. The water rolled and rolled, its quiet randomness a comfort. I do not like when reactors panic, she said, or when pipes feel like they are about to break. If I can help them feel calm, that feels good. But I do not want to stand in rooms full of screaming atoms all day. I want to think. I want to understand. Then our task, Talon said from the link, his colors slow and warm, is to build you a life where understanding comes first, and helping others comes only when you are ready and willing. Outside, the world kept turning. Reactors ran. Satellites circled. Quantum labs cooled their fragile devices to near absolute zero and asked hard questions about reality. Inside a quiet room above a cafe in Monterey, a small group took a different path. They did not try to pull answers out of a child like secrets from a locked box. They sat with her. They asked simple questions. They let her describe tired atoms and leaning probabilities in plain words. And slowly, gently, they began to see that her strange sense was not magic or fate. It was a new language sitting half-formed in her mind, waiting for patience and care to bring it into clear, shared speech. The day the big reactor started to panic, Monterey looked calm. Fog hung low over the bay in a thin gray sheet. Quiet electric boats moved across the water. Kids rode light bikes along the paths, their voices mixing with gull calls and the soft thrum of distant traffic. Liora sat at the kitchen table, trying to focus on her math work. The apartment smelled like toast and strong coffee. Naomi sat across from her, going through messages on her tablet. A small plant twisted toward the window, leaves bright against the pale morning. The room felt mostly quiet. In Liora's mind, the old fridge hummed in a slow, sleepy way. The wall panels that held wiring gave off a faint buzz, like a soft fly far away. It was all normal. Then a thin, sharp line of pressure stabbed across her thoughts. She froze, pencil halfway to the paper. This feeling did not come from the building. It did not even come from the city. It came from far inland, deep under rock and reinforced shells of concrete and steel. Liora? Naomi looked up at once. What is it? Liora pressed her palms to the table. Something far away is shouting, she said. Her voice shook. It feels like a metal forest on fire, not with real fire. With chances, everything is leaning hard. In a bad way. Naomi's face tightened. She asked, already reaching for her secure band. Yes, Liora said, her eyes filled with tears. Deep. Very big. The atoms feel like they are tripping over each other. Naomi stood so fast her chair tipped and caught itself with its soft stabilizers. She pressed 2 fingers to the side of her neck, opening a direct call line. Dr. Hale, she said as soon as Marcus answered. She is feeling something. Large scale, says it is a reactor. Marcus did not waste time. Which vector? Liora, he asked, his voice coming clear from Naomi's band. Can you point? Liora stood and moved to the window. The fog blurred the hills, but in her mind a sharp pull went east and a little south, like a hook in the middle of her chest. She pointed. That way, par. Past the smaller plants. It is big. Nauma's face went pale. The Alta Sierra complex, she said, under her breath. Main continental grid support. That plant sat deep in the western mountains, inside a ring of strict safety zones. It was one of the largest advanced reactors on the continent, built with many layers of backup and new quantum-guided controls. It was not supposed to have surprises, but probability did not care what was supposed to happen. Marcus' voice sharpened. I am looping in Talon and the Alta Sierra control team, he said. Naomi, can you bring Liora to the local Virai human hub? They have secure links and quiet rooms. Naomi looked at her daughter. Can you travel? She asked softly. Liora swallowed. The pressure in her head kept rising, like a storm wind building behind a door. "If the tram is not too loud," she said, "I will ask for a private car." Thalen's voice joined, calm and level, shielded, low field. "It will be at your building in 7 minutes. Everything moved fast after that, but no one rushed Liora herself. Naomi grabbed her bag and a soft pair of noise-filtering ear covers. She helped Liora pull on a jacket. Even though the weather was mild, sometimes a layer of cloth made Liora feel less exposed. They went down the stairs instead of the elevator. The metal frame of the lift shaft felt agitated now, picking up the distant stress in the power grid. Liora did not want to be inside it. Outside, the private car waited at the curb. It was small and smooth, with extra shielding in the walls. The electric drive hummed so gently that Liora almost did not feel it. Inside, the windows dimmed to cut glare. Naomi buckled them both in. As the car slid into the street grid, Liora pressed her hands over her ears, not for sound but for a sense of safety. The pressure from the far reactor had grown into a loud, crowded push. It did not feel like a single point of failure. It felt like many small roads, all starting to turn toward the same cliff. "Talk to me," Marcus said from the car's audio. "Just simple words. What does it feel like right now?" Liora forced herself to breathe slowly. "Like a very big choir," she said. "Most of them are singing the right song, but a group at the edge is shouting the wrong notes, and those wrong notes keep pulling more voices in." "Location inside?" Thalen asked gently. "Cooling. Containment." She closed her eyes and tried to focus. The field was complex, a huge tangle of possible paths. "The tightest pressure is not dead center," she said, slowly. "It is near the bottom edge, or where something holds it in." "Outflow manifolds," Naomi muttered, "or lower supports." Traffic parted around them. City control had given the car priority. In less than 15 minutes, they slid into the underground bay of the Varai Human Hub, a low building near the waterfront that held meeting rooms, labs, and secure links. A Varai staff member met them at the entrance. Their skin showed calm blues and greens, but their eyes were sharp. "This way," they said. "Room 3. It is shielded and stable." Room 3 looked plain, almost boring. No big screens. A simple table and 4 chairs. A single narrow window showed the gray sky, but no major machines ran close by. Liora felt the relief at once. The room's own atoms held quiet patterns. The only loudness came from far away. Thalen's image appeared in the air, above the table, tall and pale, with faint gold lines running along his skin. Marcus sat at the table already, having joined by a separate entrance. His hair was a little messy, like he had rushed. A side wall showed a simple map of the Alta Sierra complex. No flashing signs, just calm lines. The main core sat in the center, with cooling loops and support structures branching out. "We are in secure contact with Alta Sierra Control," Marcus said. "They think they are in a safe state. You feel something they do not." Liora dropped into a chair. Naomi sat beside her and took her hand. Liora Thalen said. "This is your choice. You are not required to help. We brought you here so that, if you want to try, we can make it as gentle as possible." She felt sweat on her forehead. The pressure in her mind felt like a weight on her shoulders now. "If I do not help, will it break?" she asked. "We do not know," Marcus said honestly. "But you feel more than we do. Your sense might show us something the numbers hide." Naomi squeezed her hand. "If at any point you want to stop, you say so," she said. Out loud, no one will argue. She took 3 slow breaths, then closed her eyes. "Tell us what you feel," Marcus said. "No need for big words. Just how it feels." "At first, it was like a line," she said. "Then more lines. Now it is a knot. Many tiny knots building in one place." "What kind of knot?" Thalen asked softly. "Tight and about to snap, or loose and messy?" "Tight," she said. "Like those puzzle balls with lots of sticks. But some sticks are cracked inside. If too many crack, the whole thing will fall apart." Marcus touched the map on the side wall, highlighting support structures under the core. "Lower support lattice," he muttered. Naomi leaned forward. "How fast does the knot feel like it is tightening?" "Liora," Marcus said, "does the pressure feel like a slow squeeze or like a fast rush?" She listened. In her mind, the field shimmered and shifted. Probability paths that had been smooth yesterday now bent sharply. Many small tracks that had led to safe outcomes now turned toward partial failures. Some turned toward rare, very bad states. It is getting worse while I sit here. Not exploding, but it is not steady. More and more paths are joining the tight place. Thalen turned his head slightly, speaking to someone off view. "Alta Sierra, this is Envoy Var," he said. "We strongly advise moving to a conservative state." An older human face appeared in a small window on the wall. Gray hair, stern eyes. The plant director. "With respect, Envoy," she said. "Our metrics are inside standard bounds. A ramp down will cost the grid a lot. We will need to reroute power from other sectors." Naomi stepped in. "Director, your unmodeled failure modes are not in your metrics," she said. "That is what unmodeled means. You asked for our help. This is it." The director's mouth pressed thin. "I asked for model support, not a child's feelings." The words cut. Liora flinched. Talon moved a little closer in the projection. His colors stayed calm, but his voice cooled. "This child's feelings have matched strange failures in several systems," he said. "She is not seeing ghosts. She is sensing your risk field. If you choose not to listen, that is your decision, but it will be recorded." Silence held for 3 hard seconds. Then the director sighed. "Begin level 1 ramp down," she said off view. "Shift load to backup lines. Keep all eyes on lower support metrics. Dr. Hale, can you help us map what she feels to something we can see?" "That is exactly what we are here to try," Marcus said. He turned back to Liora. "We are going to do this slowly," he said. "I will ask you to focus on parts of the reactor. If that hurts, say so. and we will stop. Say so, and we will stop. He lifted a pen and pointed to a rough outline of the core. First, the heart, he said. The place where the main fission reactions happen. Does that part feel panicked? Liora shifted her attention. The core felt hot and busy, but in a familiar way. The field there held many paths, but most still led to safe, steady power. It is loud, she said, but normal loud, like a big city during the day, not like someone screaming. Good, Marcus said. He pointed to the outer ring, now the main coolant loops, the parts that carry heat away. She touched that part in her mind. Coolant atoms moved fast, bumping into each other. Valves opened and closed. Pumps pushed. There were a few thin points where metal had seen many hot-cold cycles. But the field did not lean hard. There, a little tired, she said, like old knees, but not close to breaking. Marcus circled a lower section where supports and outlet structures sat. Now here, he said, the place near where you felt the knot. Liora took another breath. As she focused there, the pressure rose. It felt like stepping closer to a crowded room full of nervous people. It is here, she said, pointing to the map, almost exactly where Marcus had circled, below and to the side. Not just one point, many small pieces. Naomi frowned. The composite support, lattice around the lower coolant manifolds, she said. They added that when they upgraded the plant 5 years ago. New material, new design. Marcus glanced at the small window with the director. Did your simulations cover combined thermal, neutron, and gravity stress on that lattice? He asked, over full operating years. Of course, the director said, but a note of doubt crept in. We ran thousands of cases. And your quantum assist systems? Talon asked. Did they search for rare interaction modes between microfractures in that composite and vibration patterns in the manifolds?